Are you peeing when you laugh, cough, sneeze, run, jump, or try to do any kind of exercise? Today we are going to discuss why that's happening, and at the end we will give you the best exercise to do to help avoid this problem. And spoiler alert, it is not a Kegel exercise. Many women believe that peeing when you laugh, cough, or sneeze, especially after having children, is normal. And I will tell you that it is common and that it's affecting many, many women, probably including many of the women you know, but it is something that is not discussed, and it is not something that's normal. Because there's no reason your pelvic floor should not be able to heal correctly, even after childbirth. And there's no reason your pelvic floor shouldn't remain strong into your 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm Dr. Amy, PhD trained orthopedic manual physical therapist, and I am here to empower women with changing bodies to move pain-free. And I have gotten extremely frustrated with the common misconception that women should just have to wear a pad all the time, or especially when they're going to the trampoline park, or when they're going to go running, or do something that they know will cause issues. Friends, it's time to deal with this misconception, because your pelvic floor is able to heal and it is able to remain strong over time. In fact, I would propose to you that if you're having a pelvic floor issue, it's really just a symptom or a sign of another issue. For instance, a lot of people believe that it's their pelvic floor that's a problem, but a lot of my patients are actually struggling with hip issues, low back issues, or they just are not able to move through life in a correct pattern. Most commonly, they initially notice this right after childbirth because, of course, after you give birth to a child, your body's still healing, you have this little human being to care about, and we don't put that priority on ourselves because, frankly, there's just not a lot of time. And that ends up affecting us for the years to come. And then when those children grow up and they become teenagers, you start to actually get some brain power back to be able to consider the fact that, wait a second, this has been going on since my child was born. And more commonly than not, that's when they show up in my office because it's starting to affect them on a more regular basis. And that's an important thing to note, is that a lot of women think, oh, having to pad up before I go to the trampoline park is not that big of an issue. However, that will progress over time. And not only will it become an incontinence issue full-time when you get older, but it can even lead to other problems, including hip replacement surgery, SI joint issues, and low back pain. Because you see, it's all connected, and the pelvic floor works in conjunction with the abdominals and the low back to be able to support your core so you can do everything that you want to do. Now, if your pelvic floor is not working correctly, that's going to put more stress through your abdominals or your low back, or both, which is going to cause abnormalities throughout the spine. This can show up in a lot of different ways over time, but it commonly starts in the hips, SI joint, or in the low back. So if you are just starting to deal with this issue, please watch this entire video so you have some tools that you can use right now to keep this issue from progressing. Now, if you're watching this video and you're like, nope, I'm already there, it has already progressed, continue watching this video because these tools will help you too, not only to understand what is going on with you specifically, but have some ideas of what you can do, because implementing these, even if you already have the problem, is going to be helpful. So what can you do if you are suffering with peeing when you laugh, cough, or sneeze? The first thing I want you to work on, if you're struggling with peeing when you laugh, cough, or sneeze, is your posture. It is so important to make sure that our posture is correct, and we need to keep it correct all the time. And I know if you're a new mom, that can be extremely difficult, but we're gonna work on this so you have some ideas on what you're aiming for at least. Now, what you want to do is make sure that your head is over your shoulders and your shoulders are over your hips when you're in sitting. If you're standing, you want to make sure that your hips are over your feet. If you're sitting, we're going to make sure that you have equal weight through your glutes. So you can feel those bones when you're sitting. You want to make sure that you have equal weight through both of them. And you can kind of rock side to side and be like, okay, do I have pretty equal weight? You can rock back and forth. If you can't feel them, rocking back and forth can help you be able to find them and see if you have equal weight. Now, if you find yourself sitting and you're kind of sitting in this back position, you may not be able to feel those bones, but it's also very hard to stack up when you're in that position. So you want to sit up nice and tall so you're sitting right on top of those bones. That helps the spine to be able to stack up and maintain a correct alignment. Now, the same thing goes when you're standing, except for you want equal weight through both feet. And especially as new moms, we get into the habit of putting our weight to one side or the other because we've got baby on the hip. However, over time, that pattern does not change. We've gotten into that pattern when they were young, and we continue to do it when they're older. So if you have a young one, as much as you can, you want to have baby right in front of you. And if you've gotten older, you really want to watch and make sure that you're not sticking that hip out regularly. The best way to do this is to set an alarm that goes off like every hour or so, and just whatever position you're in when that alarm goes off, see what position your body is in. You may be shocked to find out that you actually are not keeping equal weight through both feet or through both cheeks if you're sitting. I actually had a patient recently who I told her to work on this. Now, she has SI joint dysfunction, not pelvic floor dysfunction. And I kid you not, 4 days later, she sent me a picture of her sitting in the car, all, one leg up and one leg out and all twisted up. And she's like, oh, maybe this is part of the reason why I have an SI joint dysfunction. Yes, friends, that may be part of the reason why you have an SI joint dysfunction. And that could also be contributing to why you have peeing when you laugh, cough, or sneeze. Now that we've got your posture correct, the next thing that I want to work on is breathing. And a lot of people wonder, what does breathing have to do with the pelvic floor? Well, you see, the diaphragm is on the top of the abdominal cavity. The pelvic floor is on the bottom of the abdominal cavity. And these two muscles work in opposition. Think about it. If you're trying to poop, your pelvic floor has to relax to let it out. Your diaphragm has to contract in order to help push everything out, right? So if one is contracting, the other one should be relaxing. In our bodies, what actually happens is if one gets tight, let's say the diaphragm gets tight and it's constantly putting this pressure down on the pelvic floor, well, what is the pelvic floor going to do? It can't loosen up and just let everything drop out, and it knows that, so it's going to tighten up in response, which means you get a lot of pressure going through that abdominal cavity. Breathing is critically important to your pelvic floor health. Also, when you're doing deep breathing, you're going to get activation of your vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve is your chill out nerve, and it helps everything to calm down. So deep breathing is not only good for all of your organs in the abdominal cavity and the rest of your body, it also helps to activate the vagus nerve and get those feel-good hormones going through your body as well. Now, people ask me all the time, how do you do this? There's lots of different breathing techniques out there, and if you're super into it, go crazy. There's lots of different ways to do it, and there's lots of different ideas on how that helps. I'm pretty simple, so I just do a very basic deep breathing technique. What I'm going to do is I'm going to breathe in through my nose for 4 seconds, and then I'm going to breathe out through my mouth like I'm blowing out a candle. I'm going to make sure that my belly is expanding because we don't want to use these muscles up here. We want to use that diaphragm to really help get that activation. So what that looks like is you're going to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just like that, making sure to get that good belly breath. Now, if you're trying that and it's hard to feel if your belly is actually activating, you might want to try it laying on your back. It's easier to visualize your belly, right? You can actually see it with your eyes at that point, and it can be easier to get that expansion. It's a little bit harder to do in sitting, so try it lying down if you have any difficulties. Now, the third thing that is super important for overall health, but specifically for pelvic floor health, is to make sure that you're getting some cardiovascular exercise multiple times per week. And honestly, the best exercise for the pelvic floor is to go walking. So you get the deep breathing, you get to be outside, which research has shown that's very, very good for us. And then you actually get some activation of the pelvic floor and some help there. The ideal time would be to walk outside for 30 to 60 minutes per day. However, if that sounds like a huge number to you and you're not used to walking regularly, I recommend starting with maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Because overdoing something good is still overdoing something. And if doing it every day seems a bit overwhelming for you, then shoot for 2 days a week the first week, and then maybe 3 days a week the next week, and add a day until you're getting to every day. Hopefully it will become easier to do over time because you'll realize that you feel better. It gives you a break. Maybe you can do it on your lunch hour so you can just clear your head a little bit, get some deep breathing, get that vagus nerve stimulated, and get your body moving. Okay, now I promised you that I was going to show you the exercise that I recommend instead of Kegel exercises. I hate Kegel exercises. They do not work. One, they're super frustrating, but two, they increase tension in the pelvic floor. And didn't we already talk about the fact that a lot of people don't breathe with their diaphragm, and the problem in the first place is that their pelvic floor is too tight. So we're going to demonstrate this exercise for you, and we actually have two different models today. So one is able to do it with normal alignment and one has altered alignment. And so it is going to look a little bit different. You may have altered alignment too, so I just want to show you it may not look exactly the same. We're all a little bit different, and that's okay. The exercise is still the same exercise. Make sure that you're doing it in a way that feels safe for your body. And before we go there, I just want to explain, I have little cuffs on my hands because I fell this week and I skinned up both of my hands. So if you've been noticing that and you're like, what's going on? That's what's going on with that. Before we head over there, if you're liking this video, hit that thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. All right, so to do this exercise, you're going to lay on your back. You're going to bend your knees up and put your feet flat on the table. You're going to put your knees and your feet hip width apart. And then what you're going to do is you're going to keep your heels where they are, and you're going to slide your metatarsal heads. Now, your metatarsal heads are at the base of your toes. So think about trying to move more that top of the arch part as opposed to the toes themselves. So you're going to keep your knees hip width apart and your heels where they are as you slide your metatarsal heads towards each other. So you're going to do that 15 times. Then you're going to put your knees and your feet together. And now you're going to slide your metatarsal heads away from each other, keeping your heels together this time. Keeping those toes nice and rested down. Now this one is often for people much, much harder, so they want to lift those toes up more. And that's why it's so important to make sure that your toes can slide. So often in the clinic, we'll do this with socks on a mat. If you're at home, you could do it with socks on a hardwood floor or a tile floor or a yoga mat. Just make sure that your low back is resting somewhere that's comfortable for you. So now we have someone who has a torsion in her right leg. So it is difficult for her to start in that neutral position, but this is neutral for her. So if Erin tries to bring her knees into a neutral position, that causes her pain. So we don't want to do that. So we're going to allow Erin to start in what feels neutral to her. This would be knees hip width apart and feet hip width apart. But you can see that right foot is turned out a little bit, but that's just her neutral position. Now she's going to do the same exercise though. Her knees and her heels are going to stay hip width apart, and she's going to slide her toes as far as she can towards each other. Now you can see that Erin has less range of motion, but this is the range of motion that she has available, so this is as far as she's going to go. Don't try to push yourself into a range of motion that is not accessible for your body. It will cause pain and dysfunction. And now Erin's going to put her knees and her feet together and keep her heels and her knees together while she slides her toes apart. And as you can see, Erin has a lot more motion this way. This is very unusual. Most people have less motion this way than they do the other way, but this makes sense with her torsion. So again, every body's different. Do what feels best for your body. So there it is, my favorite exercise to do instead of Kegel exercises. Please tell all of your friends, because nobody should have to suffer through Kegel exercises that don't work in the first place. Now, if you're interested in working with us, we do offer an online health coaching program. Feel free to reach out to concierge at pt4eb.com. That's going to be in the box below, as well as if you're looking for some more videos regarding posture or breathing, check out these over here.